BBC Television presents...
Hancock.
We've got an unusual case up next, Sid. I'm not sure whether we ought to take it or not. It's a bit wishy-washy, if you ask me. It's not going to raise our profile on the streets or anything.
All right, fill us in on the details, Hancock, and I'll give you my considered opinion based on 30 years of criminal experience with some of the most hardened and dangerous criminals.
Right, let me see. This bloke charged his company 9p on expenses for a 330-yard car journey, and they say it's not justified.
Nah.
Well, thanks for your insight, Sid. I'll make a note of it. Sid says nah. So thanks for giving us the benefit of your 30 years of experience with the most hardened criminals.
It's obvious. We're only talking about ninepence. What's our commission going to be? Threepence?
It's not the amount of money, Sergeant James. Theft is theft, no matter how small. Wait a minute, here he comes now.
Good evening. Is this Hancock's ears? It's supposed to be. You don't look like heroes to me. Someone from work said I had to come and see you, although I can't think why.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Mr. Flabbergast. I'm afraid I have to tell you we are investigating a serious matter involving your conduct.
No, stop messing about. I ain't done nothing. I vote Conservative. You must have the wrong man. There's a couple of Labour supporters round the corner. I bet it's them you want.
My good man, your voting habits are of no concern to me.
Don't play the innocent with us, Flabbergast. You claim ninepence on car expenses you weren't entitled to. The company you work for, Sods and Turf Limited, want you charged with deception and fraud.
I only went 330 yards to the corner shop to get some tea for the office. We ran out. It was raining.
There's one thing puzzling me, Mr. Flabbergast. Why didn't you charge 9p for the journey to the corner shop and 9p for the journey back to the office?
Because I walk back. I like to keep fit. I've got a Fitbit, you know.
But why didn't you drive back, Mr. Flabbergast?
Because I haven't got a car.
Well, that seems an open and shut case, Inspector Hancock. You can charge him now, fraudulently claiming for car expenses, and he ain't even got a car. That's barefaced cheek, if you ask me.
Hang on. You can't see my cheeks, can you? I get a trial, though, don't I, with a jury and a judge. I like the drama of a court. I watch Judge Rinder. Can I have in?
No, you can't. Anyway, we've got better things to do with our time than turn up to a jury trial. It's out of the question. What for, 9p? Do you know how much trials cost?
No. Is that a trick question? Go on, about 20 quid. Is that right?
You haven't got a clue, Flabbergast. They cost thousands, and that's just the tea and biscuits for the jury, and cherry brandy for the judge, and rum and coke for the clerk of the court, and then there's bribes for the jury.
Oh, well, if I can't have a proper trial, I'm going home. I only came here because they said I might meet Judge Rinder.
You're not going anywhere, Flabbergast. Sid, seize that man.
Stop struggling.
I'm not struggling, it's you that's struggling. I've got me braces caught in your belt buckle. I'll make a citizen's arrest if you're not careful.
You can't. We're arresting you, Flabbergast, and we're officially unofficial policemen. That's official.
I'm going to contact the courts and lodge a complaint against you. False arrest and imprisonment. I'm not your toy to be thrown around like a rag doll and made a fool of.
Order in court. Order. I summon Mr. Anthony Aloysius St. John Hancock and Mr. Sidney Claude James to the witness stand. I didn't know your middle name was Claude.
It isn't. I just thought it would sound better in court.
Are charged with unlawfully arresting a Mr. Flabbergast at number 23 Railway Cuttings East Cheam on the 1st of September 2020. What do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honour. What are you doing, Sid? We've both got to plead the same. It sounds as if we don't know what we're doing.
We don't, and you never said whether we were going to plead guilty or not.
I would like to call a Mr. Flabbergast.
Good evening, Your Worship.
Now, in your own words, Mr. Flabbergast, would you say what happened to you? Take your time. I know this must be quite difficult and stressful to you.
I can't help shaking, Your Honour. You see, my company said I had to go to this house to talk to these two men. I didn't like the look of them the moment I saw them. They looked a bit evil, a bit violent if you ask me. The fat one's eyes are too close together.
They are not. Sid's are. Mr. Hancock, you must speak only when you're spoken to.
All right, keep your wig on.
Are these the two dreadful men who attacked you?
Yes, the two sitting over there in the shadows, trying not to look guilty. The fat one and the one with the big cock.
Will you stop calling me the fat one? Isn't there anything else noticeable about me that's a little less derogatory?
Now you come to mention it, no.
Will you shut up, Mr. Hancock? Speak when you're spoken to and stop fidgeting and gesticulating about. Will you show some respect for this court?
After being so rudely interrupted, I will continue. These two try and make out I owed 9 pence, and they wouldn't let me go until I paid it.
9 pence? That's ridiculous.
It may not be a lot to you, but it could be life and death to some other poor sod, my lord.
You're doing it again. Do you mind not interrupting, Mr. Hancock? And call me Your Honour, if you have to call me anything.
Then the one with the big nose grabbed me and wouldn't let go.
All for 9 pence? I hope you put up a good fight and resisted the blighters, Mr. Flabbergast.
Oh, I tried, Your Honour. Oh, how I tried. I wriggled and wriggled to get out of his grasp. But he had me in a grip of iron. It was like a vice. He kept pinching me.
Vice indeed, you poor man. I'd like to get straight to the matter. I'd like to call Mr. Anthony Aloysius St. John Hancock to the witness stand. So, why did you, Mr. Hancock, try and extort 9 pence from Mr. Flabbergast? Are you some sort of gang enforcers for the mafia?
I beg your pardon, Your Honour. No, far from it. We're upstanding citizens. Hancock's Heroes, they call us. One of the new private police forces. You must have read about us in the papers.
Can't say I have. Private police force? Poppycock. I'm going to fine you for contempt of court for lying. You cannot make a mockery of this court.
No, I'm being serious. The police are bringing fewer offenders to court. So for a fee of £100 to £200 a month per business in East Cheam, we ensure the safety of local residents and businesses, plus we fine the criminals. Make a bit on the side, you know, to cover expenses.
Make a bit on the side? You were going to fine Mr. Flabbergast 9 pence. That seems a waste of your time. That isn't even a tea bag.
Hang on a mo, Your Honour. It's 5 tea bags.
And I don't need you to tell me the price of tea, Mr. James. In a minute you'll be telling me how to use my flaming gavel.
I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Your Honour. 9 pence, that was the crime. We were planning to get a lot more out of him than that, I can tell you. I clearly haven't explained myself. You see, Mr. Flabbergast falsely claimed 9 pence on expenses, and his company, who is one of our clients, asked us to get it back.
So you decided to beat Mr. Flabbergast in order to prize the measly sum of 9 pence from his poor, wretched person.
That, sir, is an outrageous slur. That is not what Hancock's Heroes are about. A firm chokehold, yes. A violent beating, no. Anyway, it was Sir James did the beating, Your Honour.
Well, Mr. Hancock, if that is the case, I call Mr. James to the witness stand to see if I can get any more sense out of him. So, why did you beat the plaintiff, Mr. James? And don't forget, this is a very serious offence.
I didn't beat him, Your Honour. He struggled with me in order to get away and ended up beating himself by mistake.
He did beat me. I'm covered in bruises. Look.
Yes, you poor man. Very nasty. Purple they are. How wretched for you. And you still managed to get here unaided and walk all the way to the witness stand. That shows such courage.
Thank you, Your Honour. I was on crutches until last night. I want damages for loss of earnings and loss of me looks.
I managed to get here unaided as well, Your Worship. And don't forget, Mr. Flabbergast is the guilty party, by the way.
Quiet, Mr. James. I'm not interested in how you got here, and I'll decide who the guilty party is. It's you and Mr. Hancock who are on trial.
Send them to jail. That will teach them.
Not a bad idea, Mr. Flabbergast. Well, Mr. James, is there any reason why I shouldn't send you to jail?
I can't think of one offhand. You'll have to ask Inspector Hancock there. He told me to do it.
Now, so-called Inspector Hancock, what gave you the right to tell Mr. James, so-called Sergeant James, to beat Mr. Flabbergast to within an inch of his life? Well, it's part of his job description, isn't it? He does all the rough stuff and I do all the thinking on the job. So you admit to being the brains behind this nasty criminal gang based at number 23 Railway Cuttings, do you?
Well, yes, no, we're licensed by the council, Your Honour.
I mean, it's a licensed premises, so drink was involved. That's assault whilst under the influence.
Not at all, Your Honour. We're licensed private policemen, a bit like security guards, but posher, of course. We have a lot of select customers. No riff-raff, you understand. We serve the middle classes of East Cheam and the rest of Surrey. The stockbroker belt.
Save me your ramblings, Mr. Hancock. Did you or did you not tell Mr. James to beat Mr. Flabbergast for the risible sum of only ninepence?
Not exactly, Your Honour. It just sort of happened. But we are entitled to use restraint.
Well, in that case, if you're entitled to use restraint, I suggest you try to use some now and again. Mr. Hancock, I find you guilty of aiding and abetting assault and fine you ninepence. Good day.
Ninepence? You're not trying to be ironic by any chance, are you, my lord?
Not a bit of it. Now be gone. As for you, Mr. James, although you were responsible for assaulting Mr. Flabbergast, I think you were led astray by Mr. Hancock.
Yes, I did think I was being led astray at the time, but he made me do it. And I ruined a perfectly good shirt, Your Honour, as it happens.
Oh dear. In which case, I acquit you of the charge of assault, Mr. James, and award you £90 costs to be paid for by Mr. Hancock. In summing up, I find that you are an upstanding and decent man, Mr. Flabbergast. How anybody could possibly think you are anything else, I don't know. It's quite beyond my comprehension. I shall award you £9,000 costs and damages to be paid for by Mr. Hancock.
Oh, thank you, Your Honour. You don't know how relieved I am that this is at last all over. I've been having nightmares, and just the sight of these two sends shivers down my spine. I won't feel safe in Surrey again.
It's all right, Jonathan. You're quite safe now. I'll see you later down the lodge for a quick one to calm your nerves.
Well, that was a bit of surprise, wasn't it? Ending up in court when we're just doing our job. I sense the hidden hand of forces beyond our control, trying to sabotage the noble job that Hancock's heroes are doing. But we will not let them succeed. Victory is ours, and I think we will get even with Mr. Flabbergast and Judge See-Through.